So this is the second part of the lesson on mean mode. So I'm assuming you have it basically looked at mean and you've understood how to work out the mean. And now we are going to go on to the next chapter. It basically is all about like finding mean from grouped data. So when you group the data, how do you find the mean? This is a grade 5, 6 questions in here, but they're pretty easy to do once you grasp the concept of it. It's not very difficult to carry on in that sense. Okay, so before you do the uh, before we get on to the lesson, I want you to do a couple of question starters, and I want you to find out see how many questions you can do from 1 to 9. First one is pretty easy, 17793 divided by 3. So I want you to work out this, how to divide. Second question, 51 times 36. Have a go at this. Whichever method you've learned is fine. And then next one, find three terms of n squared minus 1. The n could be 1 in here and could be 2. So if n is 1, 1 squared is 1. So 1 squared is 1, 1 minus 1 will be 0. If n is 2, it will be 2 squared. 2 squared minus 1, which is 4 minus 1 will be 3. So on. And see if you can work out, go up to question 8. Okay. And question with sharing, all you do is you add the ratio. So you'll add 9 plus 4, which will give you 13. Divide 39 by 13, which is 3. And you multiply 3 by 4 to give you 12. And 3 times 9. So you can share in that sense. See how many questions you can attempt from this. Is very important you have a go at these started questions because they're basically cover everything you need. Now, question 8 is basically 5x plus 2 equals 40. You have to expand the brackets. You'll have to do 5x plus 10 equals 40 and see if you can work out the value of x. Even if you struggle, don't worry about it, but it's just something which you could have a go. So I put the answers on for you. Okay. Um, okay. So 5x plus 10 gives you 40 and you have to balance the equation out. So 5x will become equals 30 because you're taking 40 minus 10 gives you 30, and to work out x you do 30 divided by 5, which gives you 6. Sharing is this way. Okay, so see if you can work out, add the both parts, and 39 divided by 13, and see if you can work out the value of each part in that sense. Okay, even if you get some of these wrong, don't worry about these because they're just basic starter, but it's good to have a go at these questions in that sense. Okay, today's lesson, looking for mean from a table. So in the previous mean we did is we added all the data set and divided by how many we had. That gives you your mean. Okay, and now I'm going to show you mean from a table. Okay, this is the formula you need to remember. Mean from table is worked out by something called mean equals fx of a total, which is function, frequency, you can say function, fx of a total divided by frequency total. Okay, I'll explain. So in front of you, you have a data sets with pocket money and frequency. Pocket money goes from value 0, smaller than p, p can be pocket money, smaller than or equal to 1. So it goes from 0 to 1. Next data set goes from 1 to 2. Third one goes from 2 to 3, then 3 to 4, then 4 to 5. Frequency is how many times it occurs. So pocket money 0 to 1, you have two frequency, 1 to 2 is 5, so on. Frequency is number of time this data set is appearing. So if I give, so that means 2 people have 0 to 1 pocket money, 5 people have 1 to 2, 5 have 2 to 3, 9 people have 3 to 4 pocket money, and 15 people could have 4 to 5, and you have to work out the mean. Okay, so it's not a very simple data set where you can just add them and divide. So how would you do this? First thing you got to do is you have to add 2 extra columns to your table. So add a column called midpoint and then add a column called fx. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to work out the midpoint of this data set, each of them. So what will be the midpoint from 0 to 1? I'll let you think. The midpoint from 0 to 1, halfway through, number will be 0.5, which is half. Midpoint of 1 to 2 will be, have a think, 1.5. Midpoint of 2 to 3, halfway through, 2.5. Midpoint of 3 to 4, halfway through, 3.5. Midpoint of 4 to 5, halfway through, which will be 4.5. So you worked out the midpoint of these values, okay, and that's your starting points. How do you work out f of x? Okay, so to work out f(x), you just time the frequency, multiply it by midpoint. So 2 times 0.5 gives you 1. Okay, 5 times 1.5 gives you 7.5. 5 times 2.5 gives you 12.5. 9 times 3.5 gives you 31.5. And 15 times 4.5 gives you 67.5. So you've got your fx and you've got your frequency. So next thing you've got to do is work out the totals. You get the total of frequencies. If you add all of these, they'll come to 36. And now, what's the total of f of x? Total of f of x is 120. So if you're going to use the formula there, so mean is here f of x of total divided by frequency. So it'll become 120, which is the sum of these, divided by 36. Okay, so which should give you roughly 3.333. Okay, let me explain this quickly again for you. So this was the original data set. The first thing you got to do is add two columns, midpoint and f of x. Okay, midpoint, you work out the midpoint of this each data. Midpoint of 0 to 1 is 0.5, halfway through for all of them you can work out. And f of x, to work this out, you multiply frequency time midpoint. So 2 times 0.5, 1, 2 point, you could keep on going on like this. And then the last thing you do is you use this formula, mean equals f of x of total divided by f frequency. So which is basically total is 36 for these and 120 for the next bit. So to work out mean, 120 divided by 36. Hope you've understood this. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to have a go at these questions. So remember, you have to work out the midpoint, you have to work out the f of x, okay, and then you have to use this formula, which is here, to work out the mean. Okay, so 4 questions for you to attempt, okay, in this lesson. So remember, work out the midpoint. So midpoint of 1 to 5, midpoint of 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and all of them. f of x is basically you multiply 11 times midpoint, whatever you got midpoint, and then you add this column, and you divide this by this. Okay, so I want you to, if you struggle with this, go back over the video and have a look at the first question, how it's been done. Okay, so I'll leave these questions for you there, and I will next lesson have a look at this topic again, and I will try to see if you have worked out the answers to these questions. I have the answers to these questions. I'm going to quickly show you. I'm taking it off. Okay, so there are some answers available which we'll discuss next lesson. So let me just summarize this lesson. So in this lesson we worked out the mean, okay, using this formula, f of x total divided by f, and you add two columns and you work out the mean, okay, by adding them and dividing each other. So I would like you to have a go at these 4 questions, and then we'll discuss them next lesson. Goodbye.